Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool. My name is Nathan Cohen. I'm a professional triathlete and a former community college swimmer. And with me, as always, Greg Harper.
I'm Greg Harper. I'm also a professional triathlete. And as I said before, I once raced Michael Phelps and got dominated. And I've been thinking a lot about it while watching the Olympics right now, which are going on. Have you been watching the swim a bit, Nate?
I've been watching not as
It's
much
about
of
over
this.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not as much of the swim, but didn't the 1500-meter world record get broken? Like
Bobby Fink, he's my idol,
1430?
dude.
Something like that?
14:30. Bobby Fink from the US. Probably my favorite race of the meet in a slow pool, actually.
Yeah.
Is what everyone is talking about. It's because the depth of the pool is like 2.3 meters, not three. But he broke Sun Yang's world record, who smashed blood vials when a drug testers came to get him, and he's currently banned. So he took a doping cheats record away, and that makes me happy.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm just trying to do the math on that. That's like
Yeah, 15, that's 58 flat meters average. So that would probably put it at about 50.5 for yards for a mile, averaging 50 point. That's Bobby Fink's a legend.
Dude, I'm being 100% honest. I don't even know if I could swim a 58 long course meters.
It's basically an all-out sprint for me these days. So it's really I feel like triathletes don't quite grasp and swimmers in general, like, oh my God. But then when you see these Olympic swimmers, it's hard to grasp how fast they're going, especially when you're watching them on TV.
Do you think they spend a lot of time focusing on their technique?
I would say probably every day for the last 30 years. Yeah.
Nice. What is a quick tip you have for the listeners to get a little bit better at technique?
My quick tip is leave the paddles at home for a few weeks, maybe a month. And yeah, you're just gonna have to swim every workout kind of without gear. And, that's what most great swimmers, all those swimmers you watch in the Olympics, no one's using gear until they're a bit older. Everyone grows up feeling the water, learning that technique, never relying on anything to get faster. And, you know, now that they're old, they can use the paddles as something to aid their gain a little extra. But for developing, they just become a crutch. And, you're not going to get them in a race unless you're racing in Otilla, which most people probably are not.
Yeah. And honestly, I was swimming long course meters at my local pool in Ventura, and they had the little junior club team, so like middle school age, like pretty young kids, and they were swimming long course meters as well. And yeah, they were doing a lot of drills, a lot of stuff without gear.
Hmm.
And I don't think a single interval in the set was over 100 meters. They were all just doing 50s and hundreds.
Sounds like a perfect workout.
Tons of them. Yeah. They were using a
Yeah.
lot of fins for like
Yeah.
underwater kicking and
Fins can be
butterfly and
common for
stuff.
sure.
Yeah.
I almost like that tool better because it'll loosen up your ankles a little bit. Like if you have really stiff ankles and if you practice swimming fast, like that's
Hmm.
good. Like
Yeah.
you learn how to move a little bit better. But the paddles are just kind of like, oh, I'll just put them on because I need to
Hmm.
get 1,000 more yards in. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we could all learn something from that. A little more fins, maybe a little less paddles.
Awesome. Well, sweet. So today's set is another lovely handwritten set from the Ventura Aquatic Center and starts off 800 choice warm up, which is pretty solid. That's actually about what I do for my warm up is about 800 choice. I've been trying to do a little bit more backstroke, although they have like the kids summer program right now, so they like move the flags away sometimes.
Oh, what? That's
Yeah.
dangerous, dude.
No, only like for three of the lanes, and it's the three lanes that I like to
Uh,
swim in because it's like closer to the deep end of the side. So, and sometimes it's only one half too.
oh my
So
gosh,
I'm
dude. And then you
swimming
can easily
backstroke
forget.
and I'm just like
Yeah.
vibing, and then all of a sudden my arm just like smacks, and we have like a tall deck, like a cement like raised up deck, so like you
Oh,
smack that
right.
hard. Um,
Damn, dude.
but
Dangerous out
I
there.
know,
Putting
yeah,
people's lives at risk.
yeah. No, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who does backstroke there, so.
Yeah, right. And there's no one else.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
800 choice. Good. Yeah, for sure. It's
that's
definitely
good.
a good. I feel like people on their own might not quite know what to do for a whole 800, but
Hmm.
you can always, yeah, mix it up, break it. This does not mean 800 straight swimming, by the
That's
way,
exactly what I was thinking.
at
If
a
you're a
medium
triathlete,
effort.
this does not mean jump in and swim 800 straight.
At like sort of too hard of an effort that you can sustain. Get in slow, break it up, work into it. You're not swimming anywhere near a threshold effort in that first 800.
Hmm. And then it's 1050s. I think it says power rack. It's hard to tell from the handwriting. A power rack, Greg was actually telling me about this. It's something you usually like tie yourself to, and there's like weights and pulleys or buckets or something, and
Mm-hmm.
just create some resistance. So like swimming with a parachute or something like that, or like a bungee cord, something similar. But if you don't have access to that, because not every pool has those, or you maybe don't have that kind of kit, what would you say instead for those 1050s?
Yeah, I would say ankle weights. No, I'm just kidding. You don't need to bring ankle weights to the pool.
Wait.
Yeah, things like a parachute and stuff. This is kind of like power rack is like an elite swimmer type thing too. So like
Hmm.
resistance. People will like we did this once when we were in kind of growing up where everyone had an old pair of running shoes and sometimes we do some like running shoe swimming. But
Mm,
after like a few weeks or months, the coach kind of just put it to the side. He's like, yeah, we kind of tried it, but in the end, if you're not gaining anything from it, it's like, what are we doing? And you're don't worry about that too much. Just, swim. Maybe do some build up 25s and, kind of create that like that up tempo that the resistance would. I mean, it just makes you go harder, right? So yeah, maybe just do a little fast swimming. Like let's say every other we do 25 build, 25 easy, and that's kind of like would help with the warm up, but maybe not worry about the power acts too much.
yeah, sounds good.
Sprinters, we're not sprinters out here. Caleb Dressel.
Yeah. He didn't get a medal in the 50 free, did he? I don't think he did.
No, he was, yeah, fourth or fifth.
I'm telling you, for free, I would not want to do an event where it comes down to like hundredths
Yeah.
of a second.
Actually, the guy who won has this like, I guess, unique approach. Like he'll do a workout where he'll like do 3 25s and they'll be like 20 minutes apart. And he basically just swims at race pace, but he only does the 50. And this is on the back of like 30 years of swimming, like how a regular swimmer would swim. So it's kind of like, oh my God, look at how Michael Andrew kind of had that same thing, but like he's kind
Hmm.
of faded. Like the base runs out at some point, and this guy still like is doing really well. But if he kept going another 4 years, it'd be interesting to see like if he could really keep it up, or he's kind of piggybacking on the back of this 30 years of 50 to 100K of swimming a week, essentially.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Sweet. So that's a warm up. Pretty solid. I mean, that's like a little over 1,000 warm up.
Yeah. 1300. Yeah. And with that build, I feel like you'd be pretty ready to go after that. I
Yeah,
would hope.
and the build you probably want to build to pretty fast because this main set has some fast swimming in it, with pretty low rest. So we're gonna get right into it. The main set is 6 by 150, and it says on the 215. So even if you're a pretty fast swimmer, that's not a ton of rest for a 150. Um, the odds are half a length fast if it's a 25 yard or meter pool. It's 12.5 fast, 12.5 easy. And then it says open turn 2 breaths. So what that means is you touch the wall, you breathe twice, and then you just go straight into a 50 fast. And then the last 75 is all aerobic. And then the even ones are just a little simpler: 75 fast, open turn, 2 breaths, 75 aerobic. So you do six
Hmm.
150s of that. So yeah. And I'm guessing that 12.5 fast is pretty fast.
Yeah, it would seem like that, or else you wouldn't do the easy after. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a good one. And so it goes into a 400 aerobic and then it repeats a couple times and the distances get smaller.
Hmm.
Um, I'll just say the aerobic and then we can kind of talk about it all.
Yeah.
The 400 aerobic after it is 100 right arm, 100 left arm, 100 free, and then 100 catch up. And the right arm and left arm, you're holding the paddle. This is what we deciphered. It's a little
Hmm.
hard to read, but I like that as a good drill. Um, yeah, I think doing 100 right arm would put people out of their comfort zone. Like that's a lot of right arms to do in a row. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's how that goes. But in terms of the 6 150s, yeah, I think it's a solid set. I kind of like how you're doing the 75 aerobic on the back of fast because that's more like a race dynamic where you surge and then have to settle. It doesn't say 75 easy, it says aerobic. So to me, that says you still have to kind of move a bit. And I think that's an important skill for people to have, especially like in the open water.
Hmm. And I found doing fast swimming first and then trying to hold a more aerobic effort, I tend to go a little bit faster than I normally would if I was just doing aerobic swimming because
That's a great
you're
point.
coming off the back of maybe being a little bit higher in the water, when you're swimming fast. And I don't know, just something about that like sets you up well for swimming like better at an aerobic pace, I guess.
That's so true. And I mean, if you like did so much fast, like maybe you'd feel tired, but no, I think more times than not, it's exactly what you just said. You just end up feeling kind of better. And
Hmm.
sometimes maybe you're not warmed up enough and it takes a little fat. It's kind of all these things, and you always got to give yourself a chance to feel good. And yeah, that happens to me a lot. That's an important point for sure.
Hmm. And I really
Yeah.
I like swimming 150s. I actually did, I don't know, like six 150s today in my swim just because it kind of detaches me from the time. Because like I could do the math and stuff, but I'm not going
Yeah.
to. Where it's like if it's 100 or a 200, I'm like, oh, that's this pace, and I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
slow or that's fast. And I think a lot of people probably do that. I'm probably not alone in this. Whereas like doing a thing like a 150 or like a 175 or a 125, it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell pace is that? It's like it doesn't really
And
matter.
and six of them is 900 yards.
Hmm.
I do 150s almost every time I swim. Actually, it's like one of
Really?
my favorite. Six 150s pull is like a bread and butter. Like, and like, oh, I need a grand. All right, six 150s pull.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I think it's a great distance. Um, so the odds versus the evens, it's almost a little more complicated than it needs to be. It seems like
Hmm.
12 and a half fast, 12 and a half easy, then 50 fast, or just 75. I mean,
Hmm.
I feel like the stimulus between those two, like I don't know exactly what the coach wants to get out of it. Like it seems like it's pretty similar. Like
Yeah.
a 12 and a half fast with a 12 and a half easy and then into a 50 fast. It's like not that different than a 75 fast, although there is
Hmm.
a little break. But some of swimming is just keeping everyone engaged too. And they're
Hmm.
thinking while swimming. So in terms of that, I like kind of the technical nature of what you have to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it definitely would be engaging, and it's kind of like, to me, I as a triathlete, like, and I know the person who did this at, they're also a triathlete. Sometimes you got to take it out pretty fast in races, you know? And whether you want to or not, like if you don't take it out hard, you're going to be behind so many people? So
Yeah.
having that 12 and a half and then a little bit easy and then hitting another 50 really fast, that's kind of like, yeah, like you're going for it kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. No, and that 12 and a half could like set up the 50 too. Like you're like, you got, okay, I felt it. And then we go Lizzie and then rekindle that 12 and a half yard magic on that 50. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
overall a good set. Um, yeah, into the 400 aerobic with a little more challenging with the one arm, you kind of get the mechanics. You got to make sure you're using kind of your whole body rotating. Um, and then a little bit of catch up too, which is yeah, I think we all did catch up growing up so much, like as a standard drill, because it's the drill you can swim the fastest. And when
Mhm.
you're kids and they're like, oh, do a drill, everyone picks like three-quarters catch up because it's basically swimming.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's good to kind of stay, they call it like front quadrant swimming, where your hands are really like there's always kind of a hand out front stabilizing you well, because if there's both hands aren't close to the front, then you'll sink. Like they're kind of your stabilizers out there. So I think it's good to get in that habit, and it's a good drill to yeah
Mhm.
utilize, I would say.
Yeah. What do you think about doing this more like drill swimming in the middle of a set and after swimming fast?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be challenging for sure. I don't know if I would ever write a set this way, but in the end, sometimes you want a set that just kind of puts you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And it's like, you don't have to do every workout like this, but try it. And all of a sudden you feel good on the drills and you might not have, I feel like the possibilities are endless now, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, well, what do you think?
Um, yeah, I think it would be pretty interesting. It kind of breaks up the main set into kind of two distinct parts. So I think that's good for certain days where,
Mm,
especially if you're like swimming a lot, like I'm swimming almost every day right now, and sometimes like twice a day. It's nice to have sets that are like really chunked up into like this part and then this part and then this part. Then it helps you get through like 4K, 5K a little bit easier. And it's not as much mental, but this is like a set I would for sure have to write down. I usually don't write down my sets. I usually just lock them up
yeah,
here.
same. Well, I
Um,
usually make them up on the fly, but no, that's a really good point. And it's kind of like so it has it written it's 6 150s, then the 400, then 4 150s the same, then the 400, and then you finish with 2 150s, and then you just warm down. So yeah, it's kind of like breaking it up. Um, yeah, I kind of like it. I feel like I do main sets where you do them in chunks with a little bit in between. I would never usually pick like this 400 as something to do in between, but I thought it could. I think yeah, it could be. I honestly might have to kind of try it. And doing a 100
yeah.
ride arm with a like holding your paddle, like, that's tough and would
Mhm.
probably humble everyone a little bit. And we all need to get humbled in the pool a little bit to, keep our egos down.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and then what's the next part of the set? 4 by 150 as above. Oh, so the
Yeah,
same
as
thing.
above. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's all the same.
Oh, and then you
The
do another
aerobic,
400. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, 400, same thing with the right arm, hold the paddle, left arm, and then 100
Yeah.
free.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and then warm down.
no, then 2 by 150 as above.
Well, right, yeah, then
Yeah,
the two
yeah,
150s, then yeah,
yeah,
then
yeah.
warm down. So a total of 12 kind of 150s, and basically half of each 150 is like pretty solid.
Hmm.
And that's a good dose, like you
Yeah,
might think, oh, well, shoot, I'm only doing 1275s fast, it's only 600 yards of the 400, but it's like you're doing other stuff, you're doing a good warm down, you're getting that dose of speed, a little change of speed. Like that's how it should be done. We all just can't, we're not all built to just go out and like really high intensity. Like that 400 to 800 mark that's a sweet spot, and you can't really stack more than that in a workout, or else it'll take you too long to recover.
yeah, for sure. And I like incorporating some speed in pretty much every week, even if it's just like 25s or like little short bursts of speed. Because even if you're training for like some longer distance stuff, it's good to have that like top end, you know?
Yeah,
And I don't know. I feel like I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's good for you.
no, too, and mechanically,
Hmm.
like if you can swim a little bit faster, you can swim faster on your easier or at your Ironman pace or whatever it is. It's like
Hmm.
that's just kind of how it works in swimming, and it's different in cycling and running than cycling and running. It's so much more technique and feel based, and like you have to feel that rise, that height in the water, that lift, and whether you can push 1,000 watts in a sprint on the bike or 900 or 1,200, it's probably not going to matter that much in an Ironman, but like your 5 minute power will matter, right? I mean, these shorter distances matter for the long stuff, and people who are good at the shorter are usually better at the longer as well. Just kind of how it works.
Yeah. And also, so I do this open water swim series, just a mile ocean swim every Thursday night in the summer in Santa Barbara. It's called Reef and Run. Shout out to anyone who does Reef and Run. But like there's some good guys who show up, like some college swimmers from UCSB and stuff, and former collegiate swimmers. And I was in a pack of I think 4 guys, and we were just like I let it out to the first buoy with one other guy right next to me. And then we were just swimming next to each other for like a while. And then I put in a little surge and I like got ahead. And then like the guys were on my feet. And then I was just like, it was a pretty strong current, like we were swimming into. It's kind of like
Hmm.
the current's coming at you on the way out and then you're swimming with it on the way back. So I was leading the whole first half of the mile and I was like, dude, I'm over this. So like we came around the buoy and I tried surging again and dropping the guys and I just couldn't. So then I just peeled off, got on one of the guys' feet and I'm like, I got to the first buoy before him. So I think I could get around the last buoy before him. So I just stayed on his feet till the last buoy and I just kicked, turned on my little sprint for like that last 50 and I got out of the
Hell
water
yeah.
in first place. And yeah, it was when you have that little extra gear, it's a nice
Totally.
tool when you have to use it and stuff.
Yeah, right. And it's like you might not have to use it in your race. That's fine, but you had it.
Hmm.
You had that in your back pocket, right? But if you don't ever try to get that tool in your back pocket, then you'll never know, right? And some people are like, "Oh, I just lost the feed," or the person I was drafting off of lost the feed. Okay, well, you needed to pay attention and you needed to go
Hmm.
around this person. You needed to close the gap. Like, don't come crying to me when the person in front of you loses the feet. Like, that's called open water awareness, and that's why you have speed to close the gap, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I hear pros always saying that. Like, no one's like, I lost the feet. They're like, it was the guy in front of me. I'm like, that's
Hmm.
also your responsibility too, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure. And it takes a while to pass people in open water. Like to
yeah,
swim around someone, it's not like running or cycling,
no.
where you could just like put in a little effort and get around
Well,
them. It takes a
and they
while.
might, yeah, and they might, if you're going right next to someone too, you guys are kind of fighting too. And then if you're trying to catch someone ahead, like you're gonna have to surge faster than the guy who's leading essentially the pack, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean that's a big turn. That can be a massive turn of speed,
Yeah, for
which is
sure.
why we do our 12 and a half fast.
12 and a half fast. Honestly, I'm not going to change anything about the set. Maybe I would do a little more warm down. I would do like a 300 warm down.
Yeah, especially with that like high end stuff right before.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a
So,
bit worn down. And I guess the 50s we said kind of like, yeah, every other as build up to 90 to 95% or so. And then
yeah,
yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think the
Um,
main set's good though. Kind of get you out of your comfort zone and yeah, I might have to try it and report back.
yeah, I'm gonna try this. It actually says at the top Tuesday swim, so I'm gonna do this Tuesday. Try it out.
Perfect.
Nice. And I'll post it on my Instagram. I'll do one of my um like by the poolside chats that I always do on my Instagram story.
Fireside chat,
Yeah.
poolside chat.
Dude, I don't even know what comes out of my mouth sometimes when I make they're all one take. I'm just like walking up to the pool and like whatever is on my mind.
Pool thoughts.
That's what
Pool
people
thoughts are the
get.
best. Pool thoughts are the best thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna close this out with a hot take, and it's kind of ties in with what we're ending with about the open water skills. If you are swimming open water and you're not paying attention to the currents and not thinking about, oh, how could the currents be moving in this swim, you're not doing your homework. And you're just you're setting yourself up to fail. That's pretty much it.
Just
So
giving away free time.
yeah, it's the way it is. I mean,
So that's a shout out to the U.S. triathlon Olympians.
yeah, it's for real. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Actually, I'll end with this little story. I did a Xterra race in Oman earlier this year, and we were swimming down like a canal, like that was coming out of the
Hmm.
ocean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was swimming with like a couple of the other pros in the race the day before. And I was like, I wonder if the water's moving a little faster on the side of the canal. So like we were all swimming kind of together and I just like kind of go over to the side and then I just like start floating and I'm like, oh shoot, this is like moving me like pretty fast. And I was just like
Hmm.
floating, not even swimming. And then the people over there were like, oh, like what do you see over there? And I was like, ah, nothing.
Yeah.
I think it's better in the middle because they were all swimming
Yes.
in the middle of it. I was like,
Can't.
totally just said that. And then during the race, I swam right up on the side of that and it just sucked me in.
Nice.
And they swam in the middle and I got a minute and a half lead in a 1,000 meter swim.
Damn.
So,
That's good homework. That's good scouting. Yeah, I mean, I will say one thing, like you got to scout out the course, the
hmm.
day before. I mean, so if you're an age trooper and you're like, just kind of follow people and everything, like that's fine. But like if you're a professional and you're not scoping out,
Hmm.
if you think, oh, I'm gonna follow, I don't need to sight, like that's ridiculous. Like just do a little bit of effort. How many hours you train? You're not gonna take 5 minutes to look at the course when you're there. Like, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah. And if it's an ocean swim, you have to swim a little bit before your race the morning of because the ocean conditions change so fast. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know if you guys have heard about the Morro Bay Triathlon, how like 300 people DNF'd in the swim because of the
yeah,
currents. It's like, just check it out. Like, get
yeah.
in there a little bit before. So
Yep, 100%.
awesome. Well, thanks, you guys. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone else. We also have a YouTube channel. All the episodes with Greg's face in the thumbnail get way more views than mine. So if you want to help me feel better about myself, watch the episodes where my face is in the thumbnail. See you
You're
guys.
looking good today. So, all right. See you.